Welcome to Workforce Observer, where we go beyond the headlines to explore the real forces reshaping work, talent, tech, and the business of staffing. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Kip Wright. With more than 2 decades of leadership across companies like Manpower Group, TapFin, and Comsys, Kip has shaped some important conversations in our industry. Now, a strategic advisor to staffing and workforce management firms, he brings a front row view into where the market is headed and what it takes to stay ahead. Very happy to have you here, Kip. Thank you for joining us.
Excited to be here. Thank you, Subadhra.
So, from your vantage point as a long-time leader in staffing and workforce management, where do you see the industry heading? Are there any macro trends that stand out to you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, right now, truly the biggest challenge that the industry faces out there, but I don't know how much of a challenge I would call it other than maybe an opportunity, is the potential impact of AI and what it's going to do to reshape the industry. And in particular, I think it's going to have two impacts or two areas that the staffing executives need to be thinking about. The first is, what it's going to do to shape what and how your clients buy. I think that's an important piece of this. The second is what that's going to do to shape how you deliver your services. Those two things in particular are probably the biggest trend and the biggest opportunity that's in the marketplace. We're certainly seeing other things that are shaping it. I know we'll likely talk a little bit about headwinds and tailwinds and where the industry is, but we're seeing that. And maybe a secondary trend is we are seeing more and more interest from clients for deliverable or outcome based purchasing. What that means is, SOW, statement of work,
Right.
services, deliverable based projects. Those are certainly part of it. But I think even within staffing, you're seeing more and more expectations to say, tell me what I'm specifically going to get by utilizing this resource.
Right.
And how do we reshape what they do so that I do feel like I'm getting specific deliverables or specific outcomes from these services? So I look at that as a broader trend. So I would say AI and maybe to some extent this outcome-based purchasing.
Great. Now, I know that there are, people who say staffing is no longer a growth industry, but you've always spoken about the profound value our sector delivers. So what's your take? I mean, what would you say?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I go to a lot of conferences and have, opportunities to both speak with the participants and from time to time, they'll let me share a stage or a panel. And I always find it so interesting how often a lot of the speakers and panelists will talk about all of the worries, all of the concerns out there. I continue to believe that what staffing provides is an incredibly important piece of
Right.
our commerce, of our environment, of the entire workforce. More and more companies are looking for ways to optimize their use of resources. They're looking for ways to really stream down and focus into core areas where activities or functions that they have are core to what they can deliver for their customers. And that means when they're using services or when they have needs that are outside of that, more and more they're looking to services, and staffing is a piece of that. If we do look, though, more specifically at where we are today, we certainly have seen a very prolonged period of time where we've seen economic trends and the downturn, or to say a
Right.
constant kind of a step down of volume or demand within staffing. That's hard to deny. We continue to see headwinds even with this new administration. Tariff wars, political uncertainty, foreign conflicts, and I mentioned the issue of AI disruption. But I also feel like there's a lot of tailwinds out there. Despite the tariff issues and challenges that we're seeing, we do have a pro-business administration. We do see an awful lot of focus in bringing work back, particularly if you're a U.S.-based organization, bringing work back into the U.S. There's so much pent-up demand out there. And frankly, we're still in a very positive macroeconomic cycle. So I do believe that we're going to see continued improvement.
Right.
Most of my executive roundtable members are starting to see this, and they're all saying that not only have they seen growth in Q2 and through Q3, but they're anticipating some measure of growth for 2025, and I suspect that will continue in 26.
Hopefully, this is the turnaround that we're all been waiting for. because I know it's been a tough couple of years. That's great. So, with so much uncertainty, there's economic, geopolitical, technological, what are you advising staffing leaders to prepare for what's next? I mean, what are you telling your clients basically?
Yeah, it's probably no surprise to you and those who know me that I've always been a proponent of a very carefully and thought out and thoughtful strategy. And I would say now more than ever, I'm preaching the same. But more specifically, in terms of if I were running an executive team or advising a client, as I do, I tend to tell them the following. One is in the short term, develop plans that really focus on or allow you to capitalize on impending growth, meaning look for and set for yourself trigger points that are going to allow you to then move into certain stages of investment as those trigger points occur and to track very carefully the progress against those. Midterm, I think it's going to require organizations to really rethink their future platform needs. And I kind of use the term stick with your core, which is be really good at what's important to you. Make sure that where you're focusing your investment is really around how you service your customers and consultants better. And the other things that are luxuries are not necessarily going to help you, certainly not in the near term. And then long term, focus on investments at that point of attack, sales, recruiting. And I would be remiss if I didn't say this. In the medium term and the long term, you should be leaning into technology and looking where automation can help you with that.
That's great. It's actually a perfect segue because I wanted to talk a little bit, which I found really interesting, your recent survey on AI and staffing. Can we talk a little bit about that and the key findings and what is that indicating?
Yeah, no, this is great. Thank you for asking because I'm kind of excited about this.
No, it's a good. I think it's a good snapshot, and we needed that.
Yeah, in partnership with Leap Advisory Partners, we put together a survey. Started with our executive roundtables. We expanded it outside of that, and frankly, we're looking to launch that a little bit broader. But the idea was we were trying to help our clients get a better understanding of the usage of technology and to do that by benefiting from their peers' experience and expertise. So the survey itself, it covered essentially all of the functional elements or areas within a traditional staffing firm. It allowed the
Good.
users to self-identify the technology they were using for each of, there were some 45 business processes that we surveyed. And then we
Oh,
asked
wow.
them to rate the efficiency, or I should say the effectiveness of the technology they use, and then separately the AI that's embedded in these tools. We have had so far 2 dozen companies, over 2 dozen companies take it. By the way, it's open to others. If you want to participate, you'll get access to the results.
Okay.
Um, and even within just those several dozen clients or participants, we've had over 230 different technology surveys. So you can clearly see there's a lot of technology in the marketplace. A couple of outtakes from it, kind of give you three of them that I think are really key. One is AI adoption is clearly an executive priority. We saw that a majority, or I should say, a significant number of those that responded said not only do they have AI as a priority, but they have it at their highest level in terms of their top 3 or 5 objectives for the year.
Okay.
Surprisingly, though, are few companies that have built, if you will, the infrastructure and the processes or policies to leverage this and to reduce the potential risks. So I would say that's a call out. The second one is recruiting. No surprise here. Recruiting is the area where the highest level of adoption is occurring. And from what I see, but also from what the respondents tell us, it's likely the best area for ROI in terms of adopting AI. And then last, and I'm sure you'll probably ask more about this, as the survey helped us to recognize a profound lack of awareness of functionality and AI capabilities across the tools that are already in place for many of the companies today. And I would read this as a significant opportunity, but it was fairly clear that when we asked them to self-identify whether technologies even had AI, it was like 40% that said no AI in this tool, when our research suggests it's absolutely in the tool.
So just to clarify, they had the tool, but they did not realize that the component of the tool had AI in it already, and so they were not even using it the way it's supposed to be used. Am I?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So the investment in that some senses, they made an investment, but they're not fully utilizing the tool the way it should be and are
Y-
saying that we don't know. Wow, how
Yeah,
come?
I think, look, this is an industry that has historically managed their technology investments much tighter than you would see in other industries. So there's part of that. Staffing companies tend to run very lean, which means they don't necessarily have a lot of technical resources that are helping them to exploit that. And frankly, we're also seeing an incredible kind of a flurry, or if you will, a proliferation of AI being embedded into current technology. And I think it's just moving so fast that there's not that awareness.
Hmm. So, what do you suggest? Like more education, or, I mean, I know moving fast is hard. I mean, how do you keep up? But what are they supposed to be doing?
Yeah, maybe let me answer different with a different twist.
Okay.
Me like this. I, Again, I'll say this. I think there's a profound opportunity to create insights that will help staffing executives better understand the products in the market, including the ones that they're using, to understand that functionality and to really be much clearer on the key differentiators in the marketplace. I mentioned Lauren Jones earlier, so I'll kind of bring back another quote that she told me this week. I asked her, I said, how many different technologies are there in the market today that support staffing? And she said, I think there are thousands. She said it
Hmm.
again, thousands. So
Hmm.
my question, which I'll hit on in a minute. But here's the question: is how do we help staffing companies, staffing executives
Right.
navigate this?
Right.
And yes, I do have some ideas, and I am working on some of those. But I think there's an
Right.
opportunity to create a mechanism that helps both the technology providers to better position themselves and the staffing companies to much more quickly and easily navigate and understand where they can leverage and use it, including the ones they already have.
Great. So, I mean, I know this is hard to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Beyond AI, do you see technology shaping the way we work, hire, and engage talent over the next few years? Are there any shifts or innovations you're excited about, maybe even concerned about, which, you know, is not necessarily AI? Is there anything else, or it's just really AI dependent?
Yeah, look, so I'm gonna start with the negative and close with the positive. And the negative is maybe it's more of the risk or the anxiety that's out there. AI is absolutely and frankly, we have had automation and machine learning and process management or process decisions made by technology for a long time. So that's not new. But what is really emerging is the ability to leverage data and to access that data and to train systems not on the binary yes and no, but on the entirety of perhaps trends and opportunities and themes that are in the data that machine can then make decisions around. And so yes, that's scary. That's new. But my goodness, when computers were introduced, it didn't change the world. When client server was introduced, it didn't change the world. When the web proliferated, well, maybe it did change the world, but it has not gone and destroyed it.
Right.
I think
That's
AI
true.
has the same opportunity. When you look at the staffing industry, I think AI has potential to reshape what the industry is, how it delivers its services, and I mentioned earlier how the clients consume it. Um, I think we might actually be able to achieve this concept of talent brokers at scale. So think about what that means. That's Jerry Maguire meets the assembly line. It's profound. AI could literally give recruiters and free them up to be much more focused on the match, the softer side of the match, characteristics and personalities of individuals and how they fit and meet business objectives. I mean, those things are where I think this industry has the opportunity to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. It's nice to have, yeah, I think it's nice for the industry to hear this from people like you. So appreciate that. And now I'm going to shift focus a little bit. The MSP.
Yes.
What's your take on the this generation model or just the MSP? Where is this headed?
Well, for your user or for your listeners, let me start out by saying this because many people may not know this. I am proud and maybe at times anxious that I was one of the forefathers in helping to create the MSP model,
Yep. Yeah.
founder of and leader for TapFin, which is still one of the largest, so maybe most reputable, one of the many reputable MSPs that are in the marketplace today.
Right.
So I have that history and experience, having run one for over a dozen years. I'm also a quote guy, so I'm going to give you an interesting quote because
Go
there has
ahead.
been a lot of questions, challenges around MSPs. Are they legitimate? Are they still here? Is the market changing? So I'll use a quote from Mark Twain. The reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. And I say this tongue in cheek because I have actually, over the last several years, long suggested that the MSP market industry is in its final cycle, that we might likely see this replaced with in-house programs. But yet, here's the reality of what you see in the marketplace. You continue to see MSPs growing. You see them now entering into the middle market. We're doing that at the same time when larger firms who took their programs in-house are starting to look at outsourcing them with the idea that this is a core business function and let's let experts do this better than we can. And so that cycle of where I thought in-house CCWP, VMS technology replacing the MSP has actually maybe not occurred as I thought it would. And I think that
Yeah.
that's an interesting thing. Now, I'm not going to be ashamed to say that I think and still believe that the ruthless focus on pricing and coverage, opportunity coverage, submittals, making sure that all the vendors are hitting those numbers, and that they're so focused on price. Frankly, I think it's detrimental to both the clients and the staffing companies that buy them. But here's the challenge: me standing in front of a train this moving is not going to stop it. And so, maybe if you're a supplier, know that it's not going away and be positioned to support it. And if you're an MSP, know that there are plenty of suppliers out there that bring value, and that value sometimes costs more than what a standard rate card is. And that value
Right.
also isn't always requiring complete coverage and 100% submittals on your orders. And maybe last but not least, there is value in having and understanding what clients need, talking with hiring managers. I understand the importance of kind of no touch during an open job order sequence. But I would encourage much more involvement, and interaction between the supplier and the buyer. And I think that's something the industry needs to find a way to embrace.
So when people, smaller suppliers, staffing suppliers say that they are moving away from servicing only MSPs, they need another kind of model because the MSP is not giving them what it used to, say, even 2 years ago. What would you say to that? Because I have been hearing that from various suppliers that they can't rely anymore.
Look, this is why you see a broader trend with many companies out there looking for deliverable or outcome based services. For them, the value of what's delivered and the quality of the expertise that the individual brings, the speed, the efficiency, those things are far more important than the rate that they're paying. And if they're simply trying to
Uh,
get resources with a certain list of skills on an interview to fit,
uh,
an open job order, they may be missing it. And if MSP operators aren't providing the flexibility to allow their hiring managers to hire in that capacity, they're missing the opportunity. I'm not suggesting that, you shouldn't have cost controls and cost management, but I think there's an opportunity there, and that's where if I were a smaller company, I would be positioning myself to make sure the clients understood what that value is, that it's real, it's legitimate, and it's front and center. But I would also be aware that MSPs are not going away.
and so, and really, just briefly, the mid market. What is? I mean, I know you said the MSP is entering the mid market. Just broadly, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it used to be there was a certain kind of size of an MSP.
Right.
I'll make up a number. Yeah, you wouldn't be cost effective if your if the client that you were going after didn't have 50 plus million in spend. You're seeing MSPs find ways to be more efficient, more effective, to operate at scale. And so levels of spend can be half of that or even half of half, and still be a
Effective.
candidate for an MSP.
Mhm. Okay. All right. Biggest challenges you see staffing firms today facing, you know? And I don't know if it's different if you're big or small. I'm assuming because of scale, it would be different. what would they be?
Yeah, pure and simple, navigating these uncertain times while trying to reposition themselves in light of the profound changes that things like AI are likely to make to their business model. That's probably the biggest one. The other two, which I hear more and more now from clients, from roundtable members, they're beginning to re-ramp their sales and delivery models, but doing that after 2 years of a downturn, after 2 years of restructuring and staff reductions is challenging.
Okay.
And then last but not least, you should be focused on, and I think the kind of the if you will, the tiger lurking in the corner is employee engagement and retention, because when new opportunities come in the marketplace, you're likely to see some of your best players be more willing to say, wait a minute, I've kind of stuck it out here. I want to hear what's going on out there.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I ask this a lot and I try and I get different answers. Most firms, actually, I would say all, doesn't matter what the size is, uh, shy away from calling themselves staffing companies. Why do you think that is? And what does it say about how the industry views itself, or I guess wants to be viewed? What does it indicate?
I think there was a time when those of us in staffing used to wear that label with pride. I think to some extent, maybe MSPs, maybe the management commoditization of pricing and the process, the automation of it. Maybe we've kind of tried to create so much mechanism and standardization when dealing with something like talent, which is
Hmm.
soft, you know,
Yeah.
it's not a hard asset, so to speak. I think there's some impact that has. I am one that will tell my clients all the time, please do not be afraid to call yourself staffing. In fact, wear with pride. You should. We make a profound impact on the lives of those that we support, and we make a profound impact, a profound value, bring a profound value to the clients that we support. And we should be proud of that. Now, we should operate with integrity, with character, with morality, with compassion. Those things are key and important. But if we're doing that, then there's no reason for us to feel that staffing is somehow, like selling used cars. And I'm not suggesting used cars salesmen are all bad, but they certainly have a rap, and we certainly seem to have gained a similar reputation. And I despise it.
Okay. Thank you. Any surprising predictions you'd like to make on what the industry would look like in 5 years or maybe even 2 years? Go for it. Anything.
Well, let me ask you this. Subadhra, you've been in this industry and covered it. I would say maybe not as long as I have, but certainly for a long enough time to have, respect in what I'm about to say. Um, Anyone and everyone who's ever tried to predict the future of staffing has fallen woefully short. Um,
I know. I know. This industry is remarkably resilient. I will say that.
that's the word, the exact word I was going to say. And look, do I think that? I mean, I'll give you a teaser. I do think that AI is going to revolutionize how we do business. I think it's going to transform the value, going to create more, and we're going to sell with value orientation, and we're going to deliver more as talent brokers. And I think that that's great for the industry. Okay.
Right. Right.
Do I think online and, no touch and all these other things that we've all, predicted, and the demise, as I jokingly said, of the MSP, this stuff is not going away. There's value in it.
Right.
And so, you know, the question is making sure that, we're positioning ourselves properly so that our clients understand that, our candidates understand that, and we have a responsibility, to care and feed this industry.
Thank you. Last, any advice you have for your peers, for people you advise, generally the industry?
Yeah, and look, I'll close it with the same theme that I just ended that last one with. I'll say the following: look, lean in, stay informed, network with your peers. But here's where I'm going to be a little bit different. I believe, as an executive, you need to start thinking about competition becoming co-opetition. I believe that you should be thinking about differentiation, but
Hmm.
paired with the responsibility to the community of staffing and to tech providers. And I'll leave you with this. It's that whole idea. And think about this: we've got 2 or 3 generations that have come in, certainly from since Gen X, that
Right.
are much more attuned to their social responsibility, to the communal aspect
Yes.
of humanity. And even in business, you're seeing that creep in. So I think there's an opportunity to take advantage of that. I don't mean in a malicious way, but I mean in a caring way. And my last quote would be this: with a rising tide, all boats. But keep in mind, if you drain the lake, no one will float.
Ah, thank you very much. As always, it's awesome talking to you. Thank you, Kip. I appreciate your time.
I loved it.